Hello and welcome back to ITWeb TV live at Security Summit 2024. I'm here now with Nelesh Baichan, who is the cybersecurity manager from Tiger Brands. Nelesh, welcome.
Thank you.
Cool.
Nice to be here.
Good. It's good to have Security Summit up and running again.
Yeah.
And it's good to have so many people through the booth. But let's talk about Tiger Brands. Let's talk about you. So first question, very kind of easy, settle you into things. Maybe not as easy. Give us a high-level overview of your cybersecurity strategy.
So, Adrian, our strategy is very simple, right? We take a lot of the controls and frameworks that are out there, so your ISO, your NIST, all of that. But what we do is we adapt it.
Okay.
We don't follow it by the gospel. At the end of the day, as a business, we're not a financial institution. At the end of the day, right? Our bread and butter is butter bean, is baked beans.
Okay. Butter beans?
Butter beans as well, yeah.
There you go.
But that's what we do, right?
Sure.
Beans, pasta, that's what we do. So we're not a financial institution. So we've got to adapt and shift. Let's look at what is our crown jewels, what's important to us. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, what's important to us is availability.
Okay.
So looking at availability, looking at that level of crown jewels is we've built that strategy over the last 5 years around what do we need to do to ensure our factories have uptime. And we've put in various controls, we've put in various platforms, frameworks, policies, processes in place to ensure we achieve that. And we streamlined that quite well. I mean, we've taken a 5-year strategy and rolled it out in 3 years. Now we have to go back and we're doing the whole ISMS program where we're bringing the governance back into it.
Okay.
And the policies, the processes, and how do we really govern all of these lovely controls that we've put in place.
Okay. And then, you say a 5-year strategy and 3 years, and immediately my head went, cyber's supposed to be very fast moving and there's a lot changing. It's kind of constantly evolving. There's all different.
Yes.
So how do you deal with like a 5-year strategy when there's so much changing all the time?
So as much as the landscape changes, the controls itself that has to be there doesn't change.
Sure.
So today the leading endpoint detection tool could be CrowdStrike. Tomorrow is Microsoft. So the actual control itself that has to be implemented doesn't change. The tool might change, and that's where we need to lift and shift and relook at. But in essence itself, and what we need to do, that's there, that's changing. Yes, it ever evolves, and we're constantly re-looking at that strategy. So it's not concrete. It's not there, and that's the end of it, and that's all we're going to do. No, we always we evaluate, we test. And then we go back.
Okay. And you kind of touched on it before, but what do you think are the kind of unique challenges? You mentioned the factories, but the unique challenges to Tiger Brands, to an FMCG kind of company. Have you got OT issues that you've got to kind of tie in with the cyber things?
So, OT is always a massive challenge,
sure.
Right? I think the bottom line is you don't know what you don't know. And that is the biggest challenge. Mm-hmm. So in the OT space, you might have a guy sitting in a room somewhere, sees a network cable, I need connectivity, boom, plug that in. Now I've got an OT machine sitting on an IT network, and you're as strong as your weakest link. Tomorrow if that machine is breached, I've got a breach on the IT side.
Yeah.
The second side of it is definitely, we've got a lot of teams, a lot of departments. Tiger Brands, being in the brand industry over the years, we've purchased other companies. We've bought on brands and we've kind of ran them as they are. And what then transpired is we get a lot of silo approaches in terms of how people work. So what tends to happen is, breaking down those silos is always a conversation, but very little actual work gets done in it. So, we're working quite tirelessly now in the IT space to start breaking down those silos, starting to talk to business more, starting to work with the business to help them deliver. Okay, at the end of the day, they're our customer. Mm-hmm. IT business, business is our customer. So we're really starting to get more involved and engaged with our business.
Okay. And you mentioned the business, but obviously it's kind of made up of employees and obviously it's covering lots of different
100%.
Former companies or kind of all merged into one.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming you've got kind of different workforces. You've obviously got the kind of corporate head office guys who are on their PCs all day. And then you've maybe got guys in the factories, the managers who are maybe kind of coming and going and on different PCs, and then maybe kind of occasional factory building this whole imagined world.
You got the blue collar, white collar work.
Yeah, exactly. So how are you kind of catering different training and awareness kind of packages and programs to them? Or how do you kind of speak to the entire workforce? I guess that's what I'm asking.
So from a computer perspective, it's a little bit easier. We've got a platform that we can use to roll our training to them. So any computer user, laptop user, it's a little bit easier. We enroll them. They've got an ID on the network, so we can easily roll our training to them. The blue collar, white collar workers who don't sit in front of a computer daily, we're trying to do specific roadshows. We've done in 1 or 2 factories thus far, but we're trying to do specific roadshows where we pull them into a room. We talk to them about security. We talk to them about why are we putting things forward, why we do what we do. And you'd be surprised at the interest they actually have. Mm-hmm. They want to know. Yes, they agree. Okay, I'll follow that. If you say I must do that, I'll do it. No problem. But tell me why. And then they've got questions, They're like, I'm doing this. Is it secure? I get this email from this guy. Is that secure? And you would be surprised. And it's an amazing conversation that we tend to start having with them, because there's so much of interest in wanting to know the cyber world. And they dedicated to ensuring that, yes, there's safety, because at the end of the day, the same safety that we're enforcing for them in the office, they're taking that message out.
Brilliant.
And it works.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that's kind of come up a few times, is that, like, it's all well and good that you're kind of looking after your people within your organization and the next CISO is doing the same. But there's this whole kind of population in South Africa, and they maybe don't have people from your companies working there. So I think we need, as a community, to kind of uplift the kind of the readiness and the awareness of our population. And I think that's a key challenge that I don't know how we go about solving. And hopefully people like yourself will kind of be able to come to that. But I guess it's that kind of drip of, if you're doing the right thing, then it's going to a few homes. Yeah. The next company's doing the right thing, it's going to other homes. So that's good to hear. So then I guess the next question is more specific to your team. How do you kind of ensure that they remain vigilant and kind of not clicking on links and kind of keeping alert to doing the right things, but not getting burnt out? Because I think that's a challenge that I've heard from a couple of other CISOs as well, is it's getting that balance between, like, you obviously want them to be on top of their game, but you can't be on top of your game 24/7.
I'll be honest, my team keeps me on my toes.
Okay.
So, I've got guys who are quite passionate about what they do, very dedicated. They'll come to me and say, no, we've got this problem. We can't do it like that. We can't let this happen. So take Wi-Fi for an example, I've one of my analysts is so passionate about it. He's like, no, let's just cut Wi-Fi for the users.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, because it's a benefit, right? It's not right. And I'm like, you can't do that. At the end of the day, you can't take away something they've always had. I get where you're coming from. Look, it's a dangerous place to be, because you're giving your users mobile access onto our networks, etc. Right? Yeah. It's a dangerous place to be. But we've got to look at alternates. We've got to look at changes. So keeping them on their toes, keeping them ahead of what's happening. I think they've got that forefront. I think the harder part is the rest of the IT teams. How the project managers, the service delivery people, the finance guys, and sitting in IT. That's where it becomes a little bit more difficult. But there we do a lot more user training, a lot more awareness, a lot more info emails out to them. Getting that knowledge out is key. And we see the repercussions of that. If they get something they're not aware of, immediately they mail us. Say, guys, I've got this. Can I open it? I'm a bit worried, or I might have clicked on this. I don't know what to do. So, I'll be honest. I think we're in a pretty good space in that aspect. Okay.
So the topic that you're talking about in the summit is around collaboration between the tech C-suite.
Yeah.
So the CISO, the CIO, the CTO. So as an outsider looking in, is that something that kind of needs collaboration? Is that not something that you're all kind of going towards the same goal? Or is it more kind of nuanced and kind of fine-tuned? The CIO is obviously pushing towards innovation, whereas the CISO is obviously looking towards keeping things secure. And I don't know, the CTO is looking at the infrastructure, making sure that that's operational. So how does that relationship work as you kind of see it?
So look, as much as in an ideal world, yes, that's how it should work. That's how it's supposed to work. Remember, the CIO has got a goal. He knows where he's going. He knows what his strategy is and what he's meant to achieve, right? So what tends to happen is the CIO tends to make that commitment, the CTO can make that commitment, and I myself know that I've got to do this piece of work, right? And I've got to ensure security is on what we have today. Why collaboration is needed is because there are times where we tend not to have it, right? So breaking down those silos is a key element. So having regular meetings, talking to each other in proper forums, structured forums, creating priorities and understanding all of the needs of the organization is absolutely imperative, right? So to answer your question, it doesn't always happen. In an ideal world, yes, it would. Sure. In a normal world, it doesn't, right? So ideally, we've got to break down those silos. We've got to start talking to each other. We've got to start having those regular meetings. I mean, at the end of the day, CIO makes a commitment. We know nothing about it. It becomes very difficult to catch up, right?
Yeah.
So having those regular meetings, knowing what the commitments are, knowing where we need to go, it keeps us at the forefront, keeps us going.
Okay. And then the wider C-suite, beyond the kind of the tech hub, how does that kind of work? What's the relationship like between, say, the CISO and the business and the kind of the rest of the board, the rest of the exco? How do you kind of manage those relationships? What's the general situation like?
So you look at Tiger Brands, we're quite fortunate. Cybersecurity is top of mind, always. It's a topic that will never die. Mm-hmm. So for every board meeting, every conversation that happens with the board, CFOs, CEOs, cybersecurity is there. They want to know what's happening. They want board backs. They want visibility. They want to know where we are, where we're going, how we're tracking, where our problem is. So we don't have that issue in our area.
Okay, good to hear. And then perhaps my more kind of geeky side likes to know about these new evolving technologies and things that are like uncertain. But what are the kind of the emerging threats and perhaps the emerging technologies that concern you, or is there not that many out there?
So look, I think it's the greatest buzzword right now, right? It's AI. Okay. Everyone doesn't know what to do with it.
Sure.
It's marvelous and scary at the same time. So, we've taken the stance that we're not going to stop the use of AI, but we're going to govern the use of AI.
Okay.
Rather control where it's used, how it's used, the information that gets uploaded into various forms of this technology, and what we actually do with it.
Do you think AI is a cyber conversation? And so obviously there's the operational side of where you're using it in your tools, but is it also something that, I guess, data protection and kind of making sure that sensitive data, I guess GRC kind of conversations, is that something that's in your kind of area? It's a little bit
both, right? It's a risk conversation, it's a compliance conversation, it's a cyber conversation. Because today, when it's from a risk perspective, if it's used in the incorrect way, you're opening up you're opening up the business to POPIA, GDPR, all of that, right? Compliance is if you're uploading that data there, have you followed all of those little compliance elements? From a cyber perspective is how are you sharing that data? Where are you putting that data? Where does it exist? What are you using AI for? Mm-hmm. So that's why I speak about you will never stop it. And if you're going to put that whoop down and say, no, I'm going to stop the use of AI in my organization, that's the wrong start.
Sure.
It's creating the governance around it. So saying, yes, you can use AI, but this is how you use AI.
Okay. And then just as a final question, which kind of type of cyber threat are you kind of most concerned about? Which kind of thing is perhaps most concerning to you?
The human firewall, right?
Okay.
I think that's the biggest one today. I think that is one that's never going to go away.
Sure.
We can put all of the controls that we want to in place, but we are as strong as our weakest link. So if you've got the human element that he doesn't understand, if he clicks on this email, does this, or plugs his laptop in here, or gives his kid to use it, or whatever it might be, we're already opening up the gates.
Yeah. Okay, Nelesh, that's been great. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been Nelesh Baichan from Tiger Brands.